ABC Women would like to thank BIPOC Executive Search for sponsoring today's episode.
The BIPOC Executive Search app is here for you. Get information about job opportunities we're recruiting for. Keep up to date and in the know about career news tailored to Indigenous, Black, and other racialized audiences. Gain helpful tips and learnings to help you on your career trajectory, celebrate job appointments, and more. The BIPOC Executive Search app, here to elevate the candidate experience for Black, Indigenous, and communities of color. Free to download and available on iPhone and Android smartphones.
Look how far you have come on your own, but never alone. Through the rain and through the shine, here's your moment, it's your time. You stood tall and now you see, standing in your destiny. 100 woman, growing strong. 100 woman, where you belong. You stood tall and now you see, you have reached your destiny, woman.
100 ABC Women would like to take this opportunity to welcome our viewers and listening audience, families, friends, and our sponsors to our inspirational conversations, fireside chats with 100 ABC honorees. 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women is a bold initiative created by the co-authors, the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, a former MP, Donna Jones-Simmons, a corporate diversity executive, and Dr. Denise O'Neill-Green, Vice President, Equity and Community Inclusion at Ryerson University. Our mission is to celebrate and archive the professional accomplishments of trailblazing Black women from all across Canada. The goal is to create an ever-expanding database available for current and future generations via print media, public and private libraries, as well as a website, which is www.100abcwomen.ca. We are pleased to bring you a series of fireside chats, which include conversations around education, healthcare, entertainment, creative arts, legal, technology, entrepreneurship, diversity and equity, media, engineering, politics, sports, and so much more. These, we know, are topics that matter to us and to you. These educational and inspirational conversations will be made available to all current and future generations via our 100 ABC YouTube channel. This is a great way to learn from our elders, brilliant-minded and accomplished Black Canadian women. Advocating for the marginalized youth. Alyson is an actor, producer, and writer for film and theater, as well as a freelance journalist. Her work can be found in publications such as the Toronto Star, the Huffington Post, and Now magazine. Alyson is a professor of English and critical thinking at Humber College. Without further ado, Alyson Renaldo.
Greetings and salutations, bonjour et bienvenue. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. So let's jump in and introduce our illustrious panel. First up, we have a Ms. Beverley Dixon. Beverley Dixon has served professionally and philanthropically as a social worker for the City of Toronto. A graduate of both Ryerson and York universities, Ms. Dixon has taught English as a second language, interviewing skills, job search skills, and has aided with family and housing issues. Ms. Dixon is also a member of the Police Community Liaison Committee, 42nd Division. Welcome today, Bev Dixon.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a good introduction. Thank you, Alyson, and thanks to 100 ABC Women for having this fireside chat. I was so, overwhelmed and just felt happy when I was picked to be one of the 100 women. And it's such a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have Ms. Joy Bullen. Ms. Bullen promotes, advises, and secures long-term strategic partnerships with organizations across Canada that enable young persons pursuing a career in music to secure more performing opportunities, community support, and resources necessary for that success. Welcome, Ms. Bullen.
Oh, thank you,
Thank
Alice.
you for joining us.
Thank you so much, and greetings, ladies. It's a pleasure to be here today in such illustrious company. Thank you to 100 Accomplished Women Organization. You have done well, and you continue to do well for the people of Canada and worldwide. I'm so happy that these talks will be on your YouTube channel and able to benefit for generations. So thank you so much, and it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you, and thank you for the positive feedback. The secret to success for 100 ABC Women is our 100 ABC Women. So thank you for being the honorees that you are. It makes our job not only simple, but fun, okay, to advocate for everyone. And finally, but not at all least, we have Dr. Alana Butler, who is an assistant professor in the Faculty of Education at Queen's University. Dr. Butler earned her PhD in education from Cornell University. Her research and passions include the academic achievement of low socioeconomic students and multicultural education. Her scholarly work can be found and is published in such publications as the Canadian Journal of Education, Gender and Education, as well as the Canadian Ethnic Studies Journal. Dr. Butler has also taught at Ryerson University and the University of Toronto. Dr. Butler, thank you for joining us.
Very much for inviting me. I'd like to thank 100 ABC Women, Donna Jones Simmons for her tireless work, and you, Alyson Renaldo, for hosting this. I look forward to a conversation with Ms. Bullen and Ms. Dixon. I'm sure we're going to have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you kindly. So you know what, ladies, let's jump in. Let's take a look at what we got going here. So Dr. Bullen, let me throw the first question to you. As the primary space of interaction for students are the schools, what do you believe can be done at the schools to effectively support marginalized students? Dr. Butler?
Oh, I actually thought you said Ms. Bullen. I'm all ready for this, so thank you. Okay, you're gonna have to time me on this one because I have so much to say, and I look forward to engaging with Ms. Bullen and Ms. Dixon.
Bring it on.
Schools, wow. I think schools play an incredibly powerful role. We know from the work of people like Dr. Carl James and his work with the Toronto District School Board that Black students have disproportionate rates of suspensions in schools, dropout rates, and all this has to do with pervasive anti-Black racism in our schools. So I'm a strong believer that first of all, my area is teacher education. So I tell my teacher candidates, who you can imagine in Kingston, it's not, the teaching force generally isn't that diverse. It's predominantly white teachers. And so I tell them about the importance of anti-racism education. the importance of setting high standards. Black students tend to be viewed in a deficit lens in our schools, and we see this being, shown by the disproportionate rates of suspension and all that's been well documented. And I grew up in Scarborough. I saw a lot. I experienced a lot, and I'm here like many of you because we had a support system behind us. So I did have supportive teachers, as well as my mother, crediting Black women, of course, and my father as well. But again, I'm always about supporting and recognizing the amount of work that Black women do for child rearing, and that. So I had a lot of teachers who didn't believe in a deficit, didn't see me in deficit. So teachers having high expectations and providing supports for students. So we need formal supports in our schools around tutoring, around mentoring, supporting the economic needs of students. And as I mentioned, just setting very high expectations for all students and providing support for them. So I'd be interested in engaging with my other panelists on some of these points.
For sure. Yes, I'm sorry, Ms. Dixon, did you want to speak to that, or Ms. Bullen?
That regarding the schools, at one point, I had this idea in my head, and I'm hoping that eventually it will come into fusion, that the schools should form a coalition with the employment agencies in the area. I live in Scarborough, and I've always lived in Scarborough for over 40 years. And I see there's a need for providing our young people with the opportunity to get out there into the workforce, get out there into the community as a whole, and to encourage them. I'm very passionate about youth. They're our future. We look to them. Sometimes we look at youth and say, oh, they're just young, but they're the future generation, and they have a lot of information that they can divulge to us. Depends on the way we access information, but it's mostly to encourage our young people to be the best that they can be, because they have a lot of potential. It's there, it should not be hidden. And we just to encourage them to get out there and be a part of the community, get to know people, get to, get higher education as much as possible, and just be who they are, because everyone has a lot of potential.
Yes.
Thank you.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, you're so right, Bev. I think that we also have to emphasize the roles that we parents, we mothers, we sisters have to ensure that we participate at the school and advocate for our children while they are there. I remember the times that I struggled telling the teachers of my son that I was very important in having them teach him how to learn. Put the emphasis in giving those skills that are so necessary for them to be able to participate in society once they step out of the doors of the school. We have to ensure that we take a stand and that we are present. And it's wonderful that there are so many organizations and there are so many people like you all who are out there advocating for our children in the schools, but we can't let up. And as parents, we have to see a huge role for ourselves also. So thank you for all you do, Dr. Butler and Bev. And
thank you, Joy. One thing I must say, prior to COVID, when I go to the malls or I'm walking along the streets and I see young people, I talk to them. I talk to them and find out, what are your aspirations? How are you doing in school? Do you know of the support that you can get? Are you aware that this agency is able to help you? And to encourage them to talk to one another, because sometimes the young people feel alone. They feel alone as if they do not have anyone to support them. And that's why we're here, 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women. Thank you so much for having this forum where we can address these issues. Thank you.
I just want to touch on a very important point that Ms. Bullen just made, and talking about advocacy and parents. So a couple years ago, I did a series of focus groups for research, which I actually just published this past month. In March, it came out. And I did focus groups with low-income Black parents and mostly mothers. And one of the key things that came out, they said, you know, you have to advocate for your children, get to know the teachers in your child's school, make the like that they recognize you, you know, introduce yourself at the beginning of the school year. Let the teachers know, here, I'm a parent, I'm invested in my child's education. So I think Ms. Bullen's comment was really, really important about advocacy.
Excellent. You know what? Let's actually continue along in that vein, if we will.
Yes.
So Dr. Butler, say to us a little bit more. You've already given us some of the points about what parents ought to do, right, in their advocacy. Can you give us a few more particular points for parents who are like, I really want to get involved, but they haven't quite had the opportunity to consider what that looks like on the ground floor? What would you suggest to a mother or father who want to actively be a part of their students' education, but maybe weren't educated in this nation, maybe feel a little bit intimidated by that responsibility, but nonetheless committed to doing so? What does that look like to you?
Yeah, that's a really important question. Thank you for asking that, Allison. And so in the research, what we found was parents did feel, you know, intimidated. My parents too were immigrants to Canada. They were very unfamiliar with the school system. These days, right now, with the use of technology, I would recommend very easily, you know, at least starting a communication with your child's school, whether it's the teacher, hopefully, and the principal. It's always good to have as many people as possible just aware that you're engaged and interested. The stereotype, which is a very negative stereotype of Black parents and Black mothers, could be mothers or fathers, is that we are disengaged, that we don't care about our kids' education. And that's not true. So the research shows that the parents are very much engaged, but because of work responsibilities, they may not be able to attend parent-teacher night and those things. So the simple things that can be done can be simply emailing the school, the teacher, emailing the principal. There's one particular parent who gave the suggestion, which the group used in the focus group, was she said at the beginning of every year, I send an email to all my teachers and I say, you know, I'm the parent of this child, he's 5, you know, these are the things that he likes, he needs this kind of a support, and I'm going to partner with you to support my child because I want my child to succeed. And it makes a big difference if the teacher sees that you're engaged and that you are a parent who's concerned about their child. That goes a long way to sort of dispelling that sort of stereotypical myth of, oh, the parents don't care, you know, because they're working. So communication through any means, like it could be through email. Some parents make a habit of calling the school. They try to be present as much as possible. What I also found in my research was that a lot of parents supported one another. So they formed networks. So sometimes some of them would say, I'm intimidated to go by myself. My girlfriend came with me. And that's also a wonderful thing that I found, that some of the women were supporting one another. Like by going to the school, they're like, oh, I'm really nervous. Please help me. I don't know the system. So they would actually form relationships with colleagues and friends, and they would go to the school and talk to the teachers and say, you know, these are my concerns. You know, my child is, you know, has been suspended or something. And I want to know the reasons why, and I want to prevent it from happening. So all those kinds of things, the key thing, Allison, is communication.
Yes.
Opening that communication and maintaining a communication channel with you and the school, because it should be a school, family, community partnership for us to succeed in our school systems. And I'd love to hear what Ms. Bullen and Ms. Dixon have to say too.
Excellent. But here's the thing that I want to make sure that we make clear to our viewing population. So what you're actually saying, Dr. Butler, is that what's needed isn't necessarily that complex. The engagement is about communication, which is something that all parents presumably can do to whatever degree they feel comfortable. And if I'm following all this correctly, what you're suggesting is a phone call, an email, anything that allows an administrator or an instructor to know that they are not alone in their advocacy of that child's education shifts the narrative just enough to increase that student's ability to get the help that they need. And that's very encouraging. Because even as I posed you the question, I didn't know what you were going to say. It could have been a laundry list of situations, right? Where you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's a lot. But in actuality,
it's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So that's encouraging and inspiring to know that that's what's required. Ms. Bullen, Ms. Dixon, did either of you wish to weigh in?
No, I think it's wonderful that we are having the conversation. Alana, I look forward to reading your piece. I think it's very important that in the schools, the teachers, the parents, and very importantly, the youth themselves, I think it's important that they know that this discussion is taking place, that the care is there, that they are aware of their own responsibilities, as well as the power that they have, the power that we have collectively to bring about a change. So the more you and others like you speak about this and show that this is an important part of what we have to do in order to take that rightful place that we have out there, I think we will make some progress, and I applaud you.
For sure, for sure. You know what, actually, ladies, let's shift gears a little bit here. So Joy, since we're already speaking to the idea of platform and what we can do, let's actually take a look at how you use your platform to ensure that young people have the opportunity for advocacy in a specific region of work, which in this case happens to be music. How is it that you use your platform to promulgate these dreams of young people and to ensure that they get the resources required for their advancement in the realm of music?
What I have been doing is I've taken a narrow space where on my own, and I will qualify that, where I can make some progress, I can make a difference. So I work with, work isn't even the right word. I help young people to recognize and to use the power that they have. And I do that by opening doors for them, and then I step back and let them take over. I use what I have garnered from my years in the corporate world and from being an almost middle child in a large family. My sisters are listening to this. I use the contacts that I have. I use my project management background to plan and strategize for them. I set a theme for the annual event, typically a concert that we pull together, but I very much leave it up to them to decide how they want to present their particular talents. Mm-hmm. I do that, and I do it not just in this space, not just in Toronto, but my whole focus is to take them across the country, because not only am I speaking to them, but I'm speaking to Canadians. Mm. So how I use what I have, I worked for many years in the corporate world. Now I no longer have to do that, or I chose not to do that. And I have many lessons that I try to communicate out of the choice that I make and how I'm moving forward. And we can talk about that afterwards. But for the youth that I work with, I set the motivational factors in front of them. I empower them, or I give them what they need to empower themselves. And so I take them to Canadian institutions because they must know that they belong there. So they perform in art galleries, museums, and in synagogue and everywhere. I make sure that they know that they could walk through any door, just the way my father told us, and that they belong. And all they have to do is to respect themselves and respect it.
Excellent, excellent. I love that. Walk through any door. That is fabulous. I don't know what would happen if every young person had that understanding. That would just be incredible. But you know what? One at a time, we'll get that done. So with your work, you know, that's occurring as well. I just want to shift gears, actually, if I may, as well, to Ms. Dixon.
Yes.
You mentioned that when you, forgive me, this is Toronto and there's always somebody building something somewhere. So you might hear a bit of clanging in the background. It's actually not in my head, I'm happy to say. But wanted to ask, you mentioned that when you see young people on the streets, that you speak to them, that you talk to them.
Yes.
You've probably noticed, we've all noticed, that the job market out there is tricky. It's not what it was. At least, you know, my mother talks to me about that all the time, about what it was when she arrived, even mentioning that you could quit a job on Friday and get a new one on Monday. I have her tell me that story over and over again and just want to hear it because I just can't believe it. So when you're now dealing with, dealing's not the right word, when you interact with young people, how do you counsel them? How do you encourage them? What do you say to them about preparing themselves for the job market?
I encourage them to use the skills that they have. And if they do not have the skills, there's one way that they can get the skills, and that is to volunteer. And by volunteering, you get to meet different people, you learn new skills, and it's one way of learning new skills and what's happening in your community. It's a way of meeting new people. So when you meet new people, you learn, everywhere you go, you learn something. You're never too old to learn and never too young to learn. So I encourage them that this is one way of giving back to your community, because when you volunteer, you get to know your community, you get to know what's happening in your community, and that is one way that you can give back. So I encourage them to do that. I remember when I was working, we had a program called the PAY program, and it's Partnership to Advance Youth Employment. And that program was to assist young people with their resumes, with their interviewing techniques. So they would come to the program very unsure of what they want. But when they look around, they realize that there are other people just like themselves, and that we're here to support them and encourage them and to help them. So they're in a positive environment, and you can feel the vibes, because when you look at them, when they just start the program, they're shy and not too sure. But as they go along in the program and they learn different techniques and they talk to their peers, because now they're meeting new people, then they realize they have a whole lot in common and they support each other. So that program was affiliated with the banks and big organizations. So we took them from one level, help them with their resume, teach them how to dress properly, how to answer questions when they have an interview, and also to learn about the companies. So if they're going for an interview with, say, Scotiabank or whatever bank, they do their research before so that they can be equipped when they enter the interview to they have information about the company. So they're not just going out there like that. So from that program, even from the way they're dressed, towards the end of the program, you should see these young people. You'll be so proud of them. They come with that feeling of I can conquer the world. I can do anything, So it was an awesome program, and many of them got jobs with big organizations, and it helped to build. What it does, it helped to build their self-esteem, their health improve, their communication skills improve. So it's a win-win situation all around.
Excellent. I'm all for win-win situations all around. Hashtag win-win all the way around. So you know what, ladies, I'm actually going to, if you don't mind, I'd like to pose this pithy question to everyone. If everyone doesn't mind, we'll start with Dr. Butler. How would you encourage everyone, but first, Alana, how would you encourage, what would you wish young people to take away from your experience? What advice do you have for them? What do you want them to know about the journey of life? It's a pretty broad question, but before everybody's like, seriously, really, what are you doing?
Yeah,
But
that's a really broad question.
let me say this. Here's the thing. Here's the reason why I'm asking. We were all young people, right? Younger. We were all younger people, frankly, right? And I don't know if you remember this, everyone remembers the sensation of hearing all the time, it's about the young people, it's about the young people, and kind of feeling a little intimidated by that mantle, right? Like, it's about me right here while I'm playing Nintendo. I don't know what you mean, right? And so what we want to do is ensure that we're offering very specific advice to whatever degree. So I know it's broad, but if you have, a few minutes, a minute in an elevator, the young person there who's got that look in their eye that we all had, what would you tell them?
I think, thanks for that question. It's very thought-provoking. I think just listening to Ms. Bullen and Ms. Dixon, one of the things that kind of struck me was the importance of instilling in youth to believe in themselves. And I think both of them, both Ms. Bullen and Ms. Dixon, in various ways talked about how they got youth to believe in themselves. Because a lot of times, as we know, for marginalized Black youth, are told, they're devalued. It could be in their home lives or in their school lives or their community. So believing in yourself. For myself, I also found that. I mean, I grew up in Scarborough. My parents were not wealthy by any means. So it was instilled in me to believe in myself that I could accomplish whatever I wanted to accomplish, so that's a really important belief system. And I think it carries through in your life at all levels. I mean, at this level, I'm also challenged on a daily basis. Like on a daily basis in my work, I'm challenged as to why are you doing this? Is your research, valid? All those kinds of things. And so believing in myself is something that carries through. So I think that's probably the most important thing is in spite of, when you have people telling you, you can't do this, because, I was told I could. There's a lot of things, and many of us can experience. We can think back to so many people who told us, oh, you can't do this. You can't go here. You can't afford this, or you can't, I was told all those things, right? So believing in myself and saying okay, I can accomplish this. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to listen to the negative people, because we have all those people in our lives who say negative things to us. You can't do this. You can't do. I mean, I have it right now, right? So it doesn't change. It doesn't matter. You can still get a PhD, and you have people still telling you, oh no, you can't do this. You can't. So you really have to be firm in yourself and believe in yourself. And I think that's what I think for me, the most important thing is just I believe in myself regardless of what people say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Excellent. Ms. Bullen.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you tell? I have a pep here. When I talked earlier about how I work with the young people, there's one important thing I needed to have said, and that is I pay them what they're worth. It is important to me that we all recognize, first of all, who the power brokers are that call the shots everywhere. When we want to rent an apartment, we rely on the man to give it to us. When we want a job, we rely on somebody else to give it to us. I believe that in order for us to really make progress, we have got to shift and put a focus on building economic security in the Black community. We have got to stop where that is a problem. We have got to stop spending our money on things that have no value down the road. We have to learn to invest the money that we earn as opposed to simply spend it. I remember when I first came to Canada, going to New York and looking at the huge cars that everybody was driving and parking them in front of the most horrid places that they lived. We have got to emphasize for our children. For me, what I'm doing, I start by ensuring that I pay them what they're worth. I take the emphasis away from trying to sell tickets to an event. And what I do is I go after sponsors and I give them what they want. And that is having these incredible youth take their name across Canada. And then I go across Canada and I say to Canadians at large, I go to organizations and I say to them, what I want for you to do is to give me a large, diverse audience, because I want Canadians at large to see what is coming out of the Black community. And then I pay them what they're worth. And I hope that in going forward, I look at some of them employing other young people to participate with them in events that they do down the road. That's what we want.
Excellent, excellent.
I want to emphasize the fact that saving, the power of compounding is what will take you to a stage where you can have that economic independence that allows you to take your rightful place anywhere. That's my
excellent. So then what I'm hearing you say then, Ms. Bullen, is that you make an investment in these young people, right? It's paying them is one message. The larger message, if I'm following what you're saying correctly, is that you show them that from the beginning of your interaction with them, they are worth the investment. And that, speaking to what Dr. Butler was saying, doesn't hurt with the whole self-esteem thing either.
That's correct.
Right? Because then you're seeing yourself through someone else's eyes, and through that person's eyes, you're seeing greater value than you might have even realized. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Ms. Dixon.
Alison, you're right. At the other end, what I want is for them to see this as making an investment in themselves. I want to see that by their going on this journey that I take them and I leave them on, is that they are making an investment in themselves. But I would like all of our young people, I would like all of us to put that value into purposely building economic security. We don't have enough of us leaving intergenerational wealth. You know, I have it. We need to put, because when we go into businesses, when we try to sit on boards, so many boards, you have to be able to pay, to make a sizable contribution, or otherwise you don't get your voice on that board. We have to build wealth. As a Black community, we have to put an emphasis in building wealth. And so that's when I do anything that I do, my little thought, and then from starting young, it's the power of compounding. We have to set our limits on what is enough for us so that we're not always, looking for the next biggest thing and trying to match our neighbor. We have to make sure we set limits, but we have to ensure that what we're doing is that economic independence that allows us to walk through any door.
For sure. And actually, before we go, before I allow you to chime in, which I believe you would wish to do, Ms. Dixon, I also want to point out that for those who are looking at this from, say, another nation, Canada is a very young nation, and many of the Black communities, not all, but a good portion of the Black community, it only goes back to the 60s, 50s of the 1990s, or the 20th century. So I say that when, in order to have intergenerational wealth, one requires generations. And I think I'm only saying this not in any way to go up against what you're saying, because I 100% agree. But it is also important that we recognize that some of the people that first came to this nation, or a lot of the Black community might only go back to, for example, my mother. That's 1960s, not 1760s. And so the generations at this point are, just 2 or 3. So I would say that we're probably en route to doing so. But it's important that sometimes we put those things in context so that we're, when I say kind to ourselves, I just mean context to ourselves, right? Yes, Ms. Dixon, you wished to chime in, please, by all means.
Yes, I wish to say something. What I'm imparting to young people is to remove the word can't from their vocabulary. Not saying can't, I can't do this, I can't do that. At least try. And what Joy was saying and Dr. Alana was saying about economics, economic independence. I say, yes, you can do it. You buy these expensive shoes and you're promoting a company. Why not invest in the company instead? Instead of being such a big consumer, be an investor. And you can start from very small. Many years ago, my little ones, especially my grandkids, used to get so many Christmas gifts, so much. It was so much. And I decided I'm not going to be a part of that anymore. So instead of, I buy them little things that they really need. Instead, I started saving some money for them. And I couldn't believe it. When they were ready to go to university, I couldn't believe how much money was saved. And it wasn't a lot of money that I was saving each month. It was a small amount. So I tell them, you can start from a small amount. And when you get a job, every time you get a job and you get an increase, your income increases, save that difference. You were living without that money before. Save it. I mean, at any point that you need it, you can go back and get, you can go back and get the money, but invest. There's so many places that you can invest. Look at the prices of housing. The price of houses has gone through the roof.
Yes.
So we can teach them from their young.
Yes.
To invest from their tiny, from the little 4-year-old. You open up a bank account for them, take them to the bank so they can see how important it is to use your money wisely and to invest. So that is what I would impart to my young people, encouraging them that yes, you can. Yes, you can. And by doing that, you open so many doors, as what Joy says. And Dr. Alana, there's so many doors that can be opened. So education is very important. You have to get your education, very important. And do as many, they have so many, courses out there, whether it's related to what you're doing or not, but you can always learn. There's always something to learn. I'm still learning. Look at my age now. I'm still learning.
At 16, you're still learning? I understand. Yes, even at 16, you can still learn. It's excellent. I don't see why not, That doesn't seem so strange to me either. I don't know why that's worth mentioning, No, for sure. So yes, removing the word can't from the vocabulary. That is huge. That is huge. How do you go about doing that, Ms. Dixon? What have you done to bring that about?
For instance, when we were working with the young people and send them on interviews for jobs, and they would say, I don't think I'm going to get the job. I said, the company advertised for 5 people. You can be one of them. If so, you're setting up yourself for failure. So if you said out of the 5, I can be one of them too, because they're going to be hiring 5 people. Why not me? So you look at that and look at people who has established themselves in the community, your own people and other people. Look at them and see where they were at, because you have to start somewhere. Where you're at and where you are now. So set your goals. Set manageable goals. Start with small goals and increase it as you go along, because by doing that, you feel, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can. Yes, I can do it. So remove the word can't. Work alongside other people who have more experience than you. Check your older people in your community, because listen, mature people or seniors, as we call ourselves, we have a lot of experience and we can show you. My granddaughter opened up a spa, and she came to me and said, Grandma, do you think I can do that? I said, of course you can, my dear. So let's work, let's set a goal, let's work alongside. What are you going to do at each step? And do you as much research as possible? She wanted to buy a condo. I said, do you think I can? I said, yes. She said, people are discouraging. I said, do not listen to the naysayers. They cannot see your vision. Your vision, they are like a little rabbit on the ground. They can't see much. Your vision is like a giraffe. You can see way over there. So she came to me and said, can you think I can buy a condo? I said, yes. I said, okay, let's go about it like this. You find out how much per month is this condo is going to cost you. You have your down payment. How much per month is it going to cost you? For the next 6 months, live like as if you're living in the condo. Use that money. Say, okay, you're going to be paying so much per month for mortgage. Live as if you are living in the condo. I said, yes, you can do it. And she did go ahead and buy a condo. And she's an inspiration. She's an inspiration to other young people. But they look at her and say, you're so young. She said, yes, I am young. But I look for advice. I get advice from my grandparents, from my parents, from people, other people in the community who encourage me. So that is what young people need, encouragement. They need somebody to encourage them. And by encouraging them, little by little, they begin to believe in themselves that, yes, I can. Of course I can do it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, ladies, you know what? We could spend all afternoon talking about this, but let's actually review the wonderful things that we've learned. So if we understand all of this correctly, we do our best to remove can't, okay, from the vocabulary of the young people for which we interact with. We make investments in the young people, in people in general, but we make investments and then pay them what they're worth. We encourage intergenerational wealth wherever we can foster it. And then we end up with younger people who have condos in a city where older people aren't quite sure if they can make that work. We don't pay attention to naysayers. We don't pay attention to naysayers. And if we don't, then we may end up like Dr. Butler, who has her PhD from an Ivy League university. So maybe there's some benefit to that. And there's just two things that I wish to point out before we shut this down. So firstly, for the entire world and all of Canada who's heard references to being in Scarborough and living in Scarborough, I'm going to use a colloquialism here. Don't sleep on Scarborough. It is a beautiful area of town. It is a beautiful place in Canada. Most of Canada is beautiful. And so is Scarborough. It's no exception. So I don't know anybody rolling through there going, oh, these beautiful mature trees. What's the problem? Right? It's a beautiful place to call home. And the other thing that we learned as well is in our advocacy is dealing with schools. And having parents, not only parents, I believe Ms. Bullen also reminded us, sisters, friends, holding each other up. To that end, I should point out that when I was going to school, I remember being just distraught about math. I mean, to this day, 2 + 2 to me still looks like 22, I must admit. I don't share that often, but in math was not my thing. And I was deeply discouraged in my spirit about it because I just never thought that I would be able to surmount this thing. And my uncle would pass the home, my family home when I was working on it beside myself. And he would joke about how when he was in school, he couldn't do math either. And he laughed and he would leave. He had no idea how encouraging that was to me because my uncle at the time he has procured 3 degrees. And hearing that, then just that little thing, him joking about having trouble when he was younger, encouraged me enough to believe that, okay, well, if somebody who has accomplished something also had difficulties, it must mean. So to that point, we never know how we are impacting when we share. We have no idea how much of that information that we share with young people is actually resonating. So this conversation and any opportunity that we can to encourage young people and to remind them how special we all know they are, chances are it's resonating. So thank you so much, ladies, for taking the time to speak with us today and to convey your wisdom to us and to young people. This has been a 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women Inspirational Conversation. Thank you for joining us. And thank you so much to Dr. Butler, to Ms. Dixon, and to Ms. Butler. Ms. Bullen, forgive me. Forgive me. A lot of B's happening. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Been a pleasure.
You have come on your own, but never alone. Through the rain and through the shine, here's your moment, it's your time. You stood tall and now you see, standing in your destiny. 100 woman growing strong. 100 woman where you belong. You stood tall and now you see, you have reached your destiny, woman.
Day.